It's Saturday, April 27th, 2024. What a miserable day. Yesterday, it was rainy yesterday, but it wasn't windy. It wasn't cold. Today, it's terribly windy and 2 degrees. North wind, of course, cools things down a lot. And the world is a muddy lake out there. Oh well, this cold weather isn't supposed to last too terribly long. And then things will start to dry up again. So I get a day or two I can drive my tractor around, and then it's grounded again because of the mud. So that's why I'm playing indoor games. And you've been waiting a whole week to see how this wax turned out. And we're going to look at this together because I haven't lifted the cardboard yet. So let's have a look. Here's a quick look at what we're dealing with. Oh, that looks nice. Little bit of cracking there. Mostly it's really nice. Color is really nice. It cooled quite well. A little bit of cracking on a couple of them. Not too bad. So I'm going to take these out and stack them up. And then I'm going to pour these full again because I probably got at least this much more wax in the melter. It's pretty clean on the bottom. That's a very nice brick. And I don't know what it weighs, but I have my scale, so let's weigh this. So that weighed in at 11.6 pounds. And just looking at them, I think that's probably one of the smaller ones. So that's really good. Okay, so there's yesterday's pour. Now this is always a problem. The wax is in this valve. When I had the tank hotter, it came out, but the wax is solidified in the valve. So I need to kind of dig it out. It's kind of dicey because when it comes out, it really comes out. This is called an Italian style hive tool. I've tried to use it for a hive tool. My opinion is it's a ridiculous design. However, it's skinny and it can get in there. Trouble is there's a cork in there. Now, it won't stay in and it won't come out. It's Sunday, April 28th, 2024. It is not a warm day. It's nice and sunny out here, but it's only 3°C, and it was below freezing last night. But I just needed to come out this morning and take care of this little queen that I put in here a few days ago. So hopefully she's doing well in that cage, and hopefully the bees will accept her just fine. Got no veil, no smoke, no hive tool. There's a cluster of bees in there. All hunkered down. And I just stirred them up. Get the cage out. Perhaps. Hopefully she's alive. Well, queen is dead. Okay, so now I have a queenless nuke there. I need to probably just recombine that with the one I took it from, but it's too cold. It's too cold for that. Let's see. Let's see what I can do. Yeah, I'm going to get stung. They don't like this cold weather stuff. Okay. Where do I put it? Oh yeah. Unhappy. Unhappy bees. Oh yeah, drop the frame, that's good. Okay. All right. Well, that failed. Well, I tried. Just trying to make the best of what I got. Kind of in a holding pattern, you know. My recovery plan is kind of in place, more or less. But it won't start to take shape for probably 2 to 3 weeks, and it'll take a couple of months after that. So I'm kind of in a holding pattern. Maybe I'm just trying to fuss here a little too much as a result. But anyway, that's what I'm going to leave it for today. It's Sunday. I'm going to try and get some rest today. Thanks for watching. It's Thursday, May the 2nd, 2024. If I seem tired, that's only because I am. I've just been putting in a lot of hours in here. So you see the work I finished off yesterday. Now, I didn't do all of this yesterday. Oh, you can't even see all of it. Here we go. So that's where it begins, and that's where it ends. I guess you can see most of it. There's 10 high. There's 10 pallets high, and of course 2 wide, that makes 20. I did the bottoms of these pallets, the runners and the plywood attached to the 2x4s in a batch. And then I batched them again and did the shims on top. Not really sure why that seems to work better for me, but it does work quite well. One of the nice things is when I do the bottoms, I'm using different tools, different supplies, and different glue. When I do the shims on top, I don't use screws, so I don't need my screw gun, I don't need my screws. I'm using Type Bond 3 on the shims, so I don't need the PL Premium, the caulking tube, so I can put that away. When I'm doing the runners and the plywood, I don't need my Senko stapler with the medium crown staples, and I don't need the Type Bond 3, and I don't need all of these other parts. There's a number of other parts here, 4 other parts to be exact, that go on the top. So it's just kind of, makes things simpler. And one of the really nice things is you can't see it now because I've trimmed them all, but when I use PL Premium, it always squeezes out along the side here and at the runners, and then that gets all over me. It gets all over tools and things, and if I'm trying to manipulate it on the table with that wet squeeze out, it can be a big mess. So I finish that off, I set it aside, let it dry in a pile, and then I trim it as I bring it back the next day to do the shims on top. It's a little more moving around, I guess, but it does seem to work for me, it really does. And then I have to batch this part because, as you can see, the front here, the overall length of the pallet is the length of the 2x4, and you can see the front hangs over because the pallets are like 21 3/4. These pallets are 21 3/4, but I just cut that sheet, that plywood sheet in 2 at 24, and then because I want to trim it at the end anyway, so there's no point in cutting it twice. So that's what I'm doing now. I have to trim all these and then stack them. I'm stacking them in piles of 8, wrapping them up, and then that'll be ready to go on the trailer for the trip to the dipper. It's a dipper trip for sure. All right, so to do that, I need to clear away my workspace. I've moved some of my parts aside. I need to get rid of my jig here and free up space on the table saw to do that. So I've got most of my tools moved away already. Get the jig out of here. And the table saw is still set at 21 3/4. If I can see it. Set at 21 3/4. I bring this blade all the way up. It goes about 3 inches high. And I've got it set at a 1-degree bevel this way. The reason for that is that when I set that pallet on here upside down, it's taller than the saw. And that's okay. I only have to trim the top, which the top is then down here. However, if I'm off at all and the blade contacts the end of the 2x4, I'll end up with a line or a notch on the end of that 2x4. So I just angle that enough so that by the time you get 3 inches up, the blade should be clearing the 2x4 on the end, and it doesn't make a defined line or a notch in the end of the 2x4. And again, it's strictly aesthetics. It makes no difference otherwise. And so I'm going to cut right across here. And so, of course, it intersects this. This is quite a bit too long. But it also intersects this. So what it does is it makes a nice, perfectly aligned joint between this shim and the plywood and the 2x4 in the middle. And that's it. You can see that I've run my little brand on the end of each pallet. It's just something fun that I do. I didn't do that for years, and a buddy was over and he said, "Oh, you should brand these." And I said, "Well, I have a brand I could put." And he said, "You have to do that." So now I have to do it. It's not so bad. I strike up the torch at the end of the day, and it takes me 10 or 15 minutes to brand a whole stack of these things. So I'm just going to jump right into this. Well, that made a pretty nice job. Now they're all sized and ready to go. So I need to carry them outside. I've got a little pallet system set there, set them up, wrap them, and then I'll bring them back in here. I have a little bit of space there to store them for a while anyway. This is two stacks, 8 here. There's 8 and then there's 8 here. So I'll move this stuff and put another 2 stacks of 8 here. I want to put them on this pallet here at the bottom just to keep them clean. And I want to keep them in out of the weather. So we'll do that. You can see I've got 4 over here yet. So I have 24 done. And so that'll make 3 stacks of 8. And it looks like I could probably put another chep in there to get more on there. That's almost as high as my tractor will lift. It'll lift a little bit higher than that, but it's a stretch. As you can see, it's a constant Jenga game here. Just I never seem to have quite enough space. So I've got some more plywoods here for the next batch. Well, in true form, that's 19. This is not 20. Oh well, 19 will be fine because that'll give me 2 more stacks, which is 16. Get my 2x4s moved up into position. Well, that's 20. I only need 19 there. But by the time those are gone, I get 1 more sheet out of that bottom stack. Need another bundle of everything. Finish these. Rinse and repeat has special meaning because it's raining outside. Again, things are very congested in here. I've got pieces right at my back, so I can't get very far away from the router table. But I'm sure I'm still working safely. Put my ear protection on and run these chamfers on the end of the runners. You can see I've got very poor chip ejection here. I really need to spend some time and build myself a better router table system. But all my time is used building equipment. Get the jig back up here. So I've got my factory edge on the plywood here. It's green. So put that at the front where it's going to get trimmed. And then, see, this is my problem. I've got my parts too close. I do use the narrow crown stapler a little bit in this assembly, just as a tack. I just find it easier to get things tacked together prior to driving screws. Sometimes I start driving a screw and it wanders, and I don't get that precision alignment that I'm after. Okay, just mark my center. I could cut a piece of wood to do that, but I don't find this to be too much of a bother. And when I'm driving screws on the plywood, it resonates on the plywood. The runners aren't as bad, but the plywood resonates. It's hard on the ears. So you can see now all the squeeze out I'd mentioned before. That is nasty. You don't want to touch that. It doesn't come off. I think the only thing to get that off would be gasoline or paint thinner or something. I'm not sure. Marking guide back. Other side up. I find that's handy if you're using product like, say, laying plywood or roofing material has it, is don't mark necessarily the top side, mark the bottom, because if you see the marking that says bottom, you question that more than if you don't see a marking that says top, right? If you don't see a mark that says top, you might not realize that it's incorrect. But if you see a mark that says bottom and it's on the top, that's just not right. All right, chamfered that way, chamfer this way. You see when I chamfered those on the router table, I set them every second layer I turned around, so when I picked them up, they're already like this. So the bottom one goes on that side, the top one goes on that side. Just makes them just a little easier, a little quicker. And again, I'll tack it with this little stapler there. And since the length is nice, I'll tack it on this side. There are 24 screws in this pallet. 12 on the top and 12 on the bottom. This is where you can get glue on things. You have to turn it around without touching the glue or getting it on your clothes or parts or tools. Ask me how I know. I've gotten glue on lots of stuff. That's lining up nice. And it went into a bit of a knot there. Okay, so that's one. So that's what's going on. Not much. That's why I haven't been making very many videos. I mean, Tuesday I had to go to Winnipeg again, do my errands, etc. But that's it. Pretty much I've been spending my days in here building equipment. It's going along good though. I'm encouraged, and I'm happy about the way it's going together and the rate. Should be, I don't know, done in another week or so, I think. And then I can schedule a trip, a dipper trip. 1st of May was Wednesday this week. So next week, so the second full week of May, probably about the 15th or so. Probably not before the 15th. So anyway, thanks for watching and have a great weekend. Take care and have fun.